Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a project that honestly haunts both homeowners and DIYers alike: sealing pipe threads. We're going to take this totally confusing, sometimes frustrating task and turn it into a bulletproof skill. That way, your next plumbing repair leaves your home bone dry. Because look, whether you're swapping out a shower head or plumbing a brand new water line, getting this right, it's literally the difference between a nice, dry home and a disastrous flood.
Now, 92%. Just let that sink in for a second. 92% of DIYers use thread sealant incorrectly. Think about that. That means the vast majority of home plumbing repairs sitting out there right now are completely vulnerable to hidden leaks, slow drips, and eventual water damage. So today, we're going to pull ourselves out of that 92% and squarely into the elite 8% who get this perfect every single time.
Okay, let's dive right into today's explainer agenda. We'll be covering why pipe threads leak, a step-by-step on Teflon tape, choosing the right tape, using pipe joint compound, the ultimate combo method, and finally, when not to seal.
Kicking things off with Section 1, why pipe threads leak in the first place. Well, before we can actually stop a leak, we've got to understand the mechanics of the connection itself. You've probably seen National Pipe Thread, or NPT fittings everywhere. They are the standard, but they're actually tapered, meaning they get slightly smaller towards the end. When you screw a pipe into a fitting, these threads wedge together, getting tighter and tighter with every single turn. And yeah, this provides fantastic mechanical strength. But here's the catch. That mechanical wedging alone just isn't enough. Even when you've tightened it down completely, there's still this microscopic space left between the male and female threads. Without some sort of buffering sealant to fill that tiny void, highly pressurized fluids, they are absolutely going to find their way out.
Moving on to Section 2, Teflon tape, step by step.
First off, you gotta know that Teflon tape isn't just a sealant. It actually acts as a vital lubricant so your metal threads don't seize up before they're fully tightened. So here's the correct, pro-level process. Step 1. Prep is absolutely key. Clean the male threads to get rid of any dirt or oil. A quick scrub with a toothbrush works wonders here. But hey, a quick heads up, only use metal brushes on metal fittings. Using them on plastic creates these microscopic scratches that will definitely cause leaks. Okay, Step 2. Leave the first 2 threads completely bare. And Step 3, the golden rule of plumbing. Wrap the tape in a clockwise direction 3 to 4 times. Why clockwise? Simple, because you tighten the pipe clockwise. If you wrap it backward, the fitting is just going to fight you, chew up your tape, unravel the whole thing, and totally ruin the seal.
Let's talk about the why behind Step 2 for a second, because leaving those first 2 threads bare is absolutely crucial. See, those front threads have a greater taper to help guide the fitting together nicely. If you cover them in tape, it totally messes with the alignment. But even worse, the excess tape right on the tip can actually shear off inside the pipe as you crank it down. That stray piece of tape can then travel straight through your water lines and completely clog up the internal strainer of a really expensive appliance like your dishwasher. Believe me, a 5-cent piece of tape ruining a $1,000 appliance is not a fun day. So always keep those first 2 threads bare.
All right, Section 3, choosing the right tape.
Now, if you've ever found yourself standing in the plumbing aisle of a hardware store, you've definitely noticed the confusing rainbow of tape colors. Let's decode them real quick. Blue and white tapes, those are your standard thickness. They're your go-to choices for pretty much any general home DIY project on metal or plastic. Then we have the magical pink tape. It's way thicker, totally heavy-duty, but please don't just use it for everything. It's actually too thick for standard new plumbing, so save it for older, damaged threads that really need that extra bulk. Yellow tape is specifically engineered for gas lines. Though quick safety side note, working with gas is generally a bit too dangerous for DIYers, so you probably want to leave that to the pros. And finally, streak tape. If you're working with newer stainless steel fittings, which are super popular right now, you absolutely must use this. The streaks contain chemical anti-galling compounds. Without it, those stainless steel threads will physically lock together, gall, and cause massive leaks everywhere.
Which brings us to Section 4, using pipe joint compound.
Pipe joint compound, or as it's commonly called pipe dope, is basically a Teflon-based liquid alternative. It's generally easier to apply, even if it can be a little bit messier. The application process is pretty straightforward, but precision really matters here. First, give the compound a really good stir with your applicator brush. Next, you want to apply a nice, even coat to the male threads only. Make sure you keep it away from the very tip so it doesn't squish inside the pipe system. Once that's done, just thread the fitting in by hand. As it tightens up, you're actually going to see a small bead of the compound squeeze out. That right there is a great sign of a tight seal. Finally, grab your wrench to tighten it down.
But wait,
pause right here for a second, because this is exactly where so many DIY projects go wrong. Do not over-tighten. You really should only go a maximum of 2 extra turns with a wrench after you've hand-tightened it. If you try to force it any further, you can actually stretch and expand the female fitting. That will permanently break the mechanical seal and induce the exact same leak you're working so hard to prevent in the first place.
Moving on to Section 5, the ultimate combo method.
So, in the real world, under pressure, different application methods yield wildly different results. Take that recent viral internet hack that got over 40 million views. It suggests rolling Teflon tape into this tiny little string and then carefully wrapping it deep inside each individual thread groove. Well, actual pressure testing on a shower arm fitting revealed that this hack is, frankly, highly tedious, incredibly delicate, and takes about 3 times longer to apply without even giving you a better seal. On the flip side, this standard flat wrap is super fast, but if you skimp and only use a couple of wraps, it's highly prone to failing and leaking right behind your drywall.
So, what's the absolute best approach? According to those pressure testing results, the ultimate pro-tier method, basically the belt and suspenders technique, is using both. Yep, both. You start off by properly applying 3 to 4 wraps of standard Teflon tape, and then you just brush a nice, thin layer of pipe dope right over the outside of the tape. When you tighten that down, this combo creates an absolutely bulletproof seal that is going to hold strong under pressure every single time. It's a real game changer.
Now this brings us to a super critical question, and I really want you to think about this before we move on. Do all plumbing connections need thread sealant? You might be tempted to go around putting your awesome new combo method skills on every single thread in your house, right?
Well, let's jump into Section 6, when not to seal.
Assuming that more protection is always better is a massive mistake. In fact, applying sealant in the wrong places actually guarantees a leak. Listen carefully, none of the connections we're about to list should ever see a drop of pipe dope or a single inch of Teflon tape. First up, compression fittings that use a metal ferrule. They seal by physically compressing the ferrule right against a seat. Secondly, anything relying on an O-ring or rubber gasket, like those flexible braided supply lines you find under your kitchen sink or your standard garden hose adapters. They seal entirely via that rubber compression. If you wrap tape around the outside threads of these fittings, you are getting absolutely zero sealing benefit. In fact, the bulk of the tape can actually prevent the fitting from screwing down far enough to compress that rubber gasket, which directly causes a massive leak. And lastly, never ever use thread sealant on standard mechanical nuts and bolts just to keep them tight. For that, you want a specific thread locking fluid like Loctite, definitely not a pipe sealant.
All right, we've covered the mechanics of NPT fittings, the step-by-step tape method, decoding those tape colors, how to properly apply pipe dope, that awesome ultimate combo technique, and exactly when to just leave the tape in your toolbox. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Will your next plumbing repair be part of the 92% that fail and cause a sneaky leak behind the walls? Or are you going to join the 8% whose repairs hold strong forever? Armed with the techniques from this explainer, you absolutely have the pro-level skills to ensure it's the latter. Thanks for hanging out with us, and keep learning.